This is a steal for the Houston Texans as they have made a brand new signing. And in this video, we're going to break down what that signing was and why it makes so much sense. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Donovan Ricondo. Welcome back to Texans Digest, your source for all the latest news, rumors, and updates regarding your favorite H-Town team, the Houston Texans. And we're currently on our quest to 2,000 subscribers. We're trying to hit that as soon as possible. So if you want to stay up to date, stay in the loop, go ahead, hit that subscribe button below because we're talking about news such as this about your favorite team. As Aaron Wilson of KPRC2, the Texans reports the Texans that have agreed to a deal with free agent offensive tackle Connor McDermott. McDermott, who comes into his age 33 season, he's an 8-year NFL veteran, had a workout with Houston earlier in the week, and only a few days later, he finds his way to the Texans roster. Last was a member for the Los Angeles Rams for the 2024 season before being placed on the injured reserve list before the year started, but now reconnects with his former coach and now Texans offensive coordinator Nick Caserio, who was on said staff for the previous campaign. So a couple of notable things to take away from this right here. First off is his experience. He's entering his age 33 season. Yes, is that a little bit on the older side? Yes, but at the same time, experience is quite frankly what this offensive line needs. And so to have another guy out there signed onto the team that can help compete for that is a huge, huge deal. Second thing, he last was in the NFL the 2024 season, being placed on the injured reserve list. And so the way I look at that a little bit is a little bit of a bright side, right? Like it wasn't like he was terrible and wasn't able to play. He got hurt. He stayed hurt. And so because of that, he kind of missed out on some opportunities for that team. So he still has a lot in the tank to give in terms of proving himself and saying that he can be on this team throughout training camp and making sure that he does everything in his power to make sure that he can make this 53-man roster. And perhaps the biggest thing that I really, really enjoy is the fact that his former coach was Nick Caserio. He's worked in the system that Nick Caserio was in as he is now the offensive coordinator. And so that kind of relationship is always a great thing to have between players and coaches and being having experience on former teams. And so I don't think this is some sort of coincidence, right? I do think they have that relationship, and Nick Caserio probably was like, hey, we need some offensive linemen. Go ahead and try out. They love the tryout. We know that he's a good dude. He is now a Houston Texan. Now, the question is can he compete with the rest of the offensive line in terms of gaining a spot on this team? And that is the big question for Connor McDermott, looking to make a name for himself in his age 33 season. We're going to continue with some of these reports. Get to know McDermott a little more. He started out his career as a 6th-round pick out of UCLA, being the 211th pick for the New England Patriots, but would instead suit up for the Buffalo Bills for his first and second seasons in the league. In 2019, he joined the New York Jets offensive line unit, where he stayed for 3.5 years, before then reuniting with the Patriots in the middle of the 2022 season and would then stay there until the end of 2023. And then, of course, you have the Los Angeles Rams before being placed on the injured reserved list for that season. Now, instead of another trip around the AFC East for his next NFL home, McDermott navigates his way to Houston, joining a majorly different offensive line unit from last season, but could plug in as a necessary depth piece when considering the significant turnovers the Texans faced up front this off season. And this is a brand new offensive line. Nick Caserio was very, very adamant about restarting from scratch, right? We saw that with the Laramie Tunsil trade. I have opinions of that. Laramie Tunsil. Is he very, very talented? Yes, he is a very good offensive lineman. At the same time, he was a penalty machine. Ultimately, he's now in Washington, so kudos to him and his work over there. Hopefully, he has a great rest of his career. But I do agree with the fact that this offensive line just needed to be Control-Alt-Deleted, right? Like it needed to just be reset and reborn from the ground up. It was not doing great last season. That led to CJ Stroud being sacked 52 times, an atrocious offense, which wasn't really helped out by the offensive plays that were called last year by Bobby Slowick. And so Connor McDermott has a chance to prove himself this offseason with all those things said. McDermott has suited up in 55 total games throughout his career, starting in 2017. In 2023, he finished the season with an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 67.8. That's 46th out of 137 eligible tackles, and even landed within the top 40 in terms of pass blocking with a 68.0. Of course, that was 2 years ago, but if able to return to similar production, the 8-year veteran could certainly be a valuable piece to utilize. And these stats right here is what makes me think that this is such a steal. He was a free agent who, quite frankly, was not on a team, but has shown signs of being a solid offensive tackle. Do I think he's going to be someone who is going to be the best in the NFL and is going to, be a Pro Bowler? No, that's not what this signing is. But for the value and for the time that you signed a guy like him who showed, consistency and being like a good average offensive tackle is huge, right? And top 40 is nothing to be ashamed of, right? I think that is a very good thing for him to have. Was he 2 years younger? Of course, but I do think, those types of skills are still relevant. They're still valuable for a team like us who are striving to have some sort of consistency on the offensive line. And so to see this signing is a good thing for Texans fans. To see Caserio go out and get this guy is a big thing. He provides experience. He is pretty solid at what he does, and I hope that he can find his way onto this roster for the first game of the season against his former NFL team, the Los Angeles Rams, where, of course, Nick Caserio was a coach over there as well. So a lot of, weaving between all these storylines and all these things. But ultimately, I think Connor McDermott has a lot to prove for the Houston Texans. Of course, there's 2 more preseason games, I believe, left for him to prove that, right? He still has to make his way onto this 53-man roster. By this sign, that sort of tells me that Caserio is looking at what he has right now, and it says, I'm not quite satisfied. We need to shake things up just a little bit. They haven't made many roster transactions since their Minnesota Vikings loss in the preseason. But I see this as okay, we like a little bit of what our offensive line is getting, including the young 2-year star offensive line. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but nevertheless, he's doing really good at left tackle, I believe. And so to have more a competition to, get these guys in a position where this offensive line is stacked, is at least sound, right? At least fundamentally sound. I will take fundamentally sound over what we had last year. I will take literally anything over what we had last year. And so I think a signing like Connor McDermott for right now is a good indication that we're trying to trend up, right? Yes, getting a guy like him probably indicates some sort of, uneasiness on the offensive line right now, because why would you go out and get someone? But at the same time, I think getting out and getting someone is the right move, and getting McDermott is a huge plus. It's a huge steal for this team because he could develop into being what he was 2 years ago, which I will so happily take. Again, offensive linemen are the indication of how good your offense can be. They just have to be good enough, and that is what the Texans are going to do. And hopefully, they're going to buy enough time for CJ Stroud to make those passes and just have more time. Last year, he had no time. He literally did not know anything before it hit him, and it showed in a lot of those games, a lot of those close games that ended up being losses, and some wins that, if not for our defense, would have also easily been losses. But let me know what you think about this new signing in the comments. I, for one, really love it. Let me know in the comments. That pretty much wraps it up for today's video. If you have not hit that subscribe button already, go ahead, hit it now. Stay in the loop for all of your content about your favorite H-Town team, the Houston Texans. The season is almost upon us, and you don't want to miss a thing. I'm Donovan Ricondo. We'll see you next time on Texans Digest. So long.